This is a very special event, and I want to thank you all so much for coming out. This is the first survivors debate, the past decade in ovarian cancer. And the important thing I think about this gathering is it's the first time survivors are doing their own thing. Sandy Panauskas and Carolyn Benevenia came up with this idea. This is the patient voice, which, as we know, often can get lost in basic medical decisions, in extended medical decisions, and we just felt that with so many of the conferences that are put on around the country and around the world, this is one voice that just gets lost. Because you're always hearing from the medical experts, you're always hearing from the researchers, but you're not necessarily hearing from those of us who are going through this disease or living with this disease on behalf of loved ones and friends and other family members. So this is great. It's a wonderful turnout. Thrilled to have you all here, and I guarantee you will leave with wonderful knowledge. You will be entertained. Carolyn and Sandy are probably two of the most knowledgeable lay people on the planet when it comes to this disease, the pros and the cons, the goods and the bads. And they're going to take a look at the past decade in ovarian cancer and talk about 5 basic areas: awareness and education, early detection, survival, access to care, and genetics. Now, there's been a lot of controversy over using the word debate in this series that we're going to be having, because what the experience that I've come across is, well, what are you going to debate about ovarian cancer? Who is going to be for ovarian cancer, right? I mean, that's typically, you know, the idea that you get from debate. But my friend Sandy was very clear about that when you have a debate, you're looking at the pros and cons of a particular issue. And in these 5 topics that we're going to talk about, the process over the last 10 years, you're going to take a look at some stuff and you're going to say, oh my God, because what they're going to be doing is taking a look at comparing what has gone on in this particular field over the last 10 years. That's my dog, Gemma. I told her she was going to be famous this weekend. This is really kind of a fun thing, too, I'd like to share with you, because we were talking about, we want to put together a presentation, and Sandy called me and she says, we need a picture of you. And I said, well, I really don't have very many pictures, but we had just taken that picture of my Gemma Lemma Ding Dong, and she was in her antlers, and I sent that off to her, and she says, oh, this is great, this is great. Then Yi came by with her picture of Rory, of course, and Sandy and her cats, and this says a lot, because Sandy is a cat person, and Yi and I are dog people, and well, there's a little bit of a difference there sometimes. Carolyn, I don't know, what do you got going?
Kids and grandkids.
Kids and grandkids, okay, okay, all right. So I think you're just going to get an awful lot today. What we're going to do is have the presentations, and there'll be time for questions, and we encourage you to ask questions. This is not going to be so much a survivors group get-together, here's what my symptoms were, because we all know we have horrible stories. But there might be a little bit of room for that as well. But I encourage you to just ask questions, save them up. We'll be able to ask them at the end. And before we get started, there are a couple of housekeeping things I like to do. First of all, I'd like to thank James Seeley and Print Tech Incorporated for printing these fabulous signs and posters. Dr. Vincent Benevenia, who is Carolyn's son, in the corner there. He's handling all of the audio-visual for us, and he's videotaping this too. And this is going to be great, because this will enable people who couldn't be here to really be a part of this process, and that's very important. And a couple of sponsors, Varsity Lincoln Mercury on Grand River in Novi, Michigan, and the Dietrich Agency on the 10-mile road in Novi. They provide for all of your insurance needs. These are terrific sponsors. They stepped up to the plate. This is pretty much a self-sponsored, self-paid for, You know, I called Northwest and made my arrangements to come here from Annapolis, as other people did too. So this really is from the heart. It really is from the survivors. And thank you very much. First up will be Carolyn.
This, of course, is our survivors' debate, the past decade in ovarian cancer. As Anna Marie indicated, we're going to be talking about these 4 areas. However, when it comes to the question and answer period, feel free to ask a question about anything. Sandy and I will attempt to answer it. If we don't know the answer, we'll try to get back to you on it. Most ovarian cancer efforts in this country, and probably Canada too, started approximately 10 years ago. Before that, you didn't hear much about ovarian cancer. Nobody talked about it. There wasn't a heck of a lot done about it. But in the past 10 or 12 years, we've made great strides. Now we get to the funding. Where were we 10 years ago and where are we now? We're going to talk a little bit about genetics. There's a genetics awareness campaign by Myriad Genetics. It's a pilot program. And we're all becoming internet babies, aren't we? But I was surprised to see that a recent National Institutes of Health survey revealed that most people would prefer to get their cancer information from their healthcare providers. Isn't that interesting? Now we're going to talk a little bit about early detection, general disease facts, which you can read about this. The statistics in Canada and the U.S. are drastically different, but so are our populations. If you look, however, at the percentage of deaths versus diagnoses, in the U.S. it's 68% and in Canada it's 70%. So we're on a par. It's just that our populations are different. Early detection of ovarian cancer. You don't have to be a member of Mensa to understand why it's important. It is extremely difficult to get an early diagnosis, but it's not impossible. Many of you have read the recent consensus statement that lists the early symptoms of ovarian cancer. It isn't, please don't ever use that term, silent killer. I don't ever want to hear that again. It is not silent, and you know that because you've been there, done that. The symptoms are there even in early stage disease. It's just that most of us didn't know about them, didn't recognize them. If we did and we knew something was wrong, we went to doctors, and maybe they weren't recognized there either. Hence, we have late diagnoses. The symptoms are subtle, but they are prevalent. With early detection and specialized care, and we'll get into a little bit about the specialized care in the access to care section, with early detection and specialized care, survival rates increase dramatically, and I have a few charts later on to show you how those rates increase. These are ovarian cancer outcomes by surgeon specialty, and I hope that's bright enough for you to see. I tried to lighten it up. By gynecologic oncologist, the residual disease is less than half that left behind by general surgeons and OBGYNs, and the longevity is twice for gynecologic oncologies having done the surgery versus general surgeon or OBGYN. Another very good reason to go to the specialist, the gynecologic oncologist. When ovarian cancer recurs, treatment is extended. It's expensive. Again, you get into insurance. Are you covered? How can you get treatment? Where can you get treatment? Where can you get your specialties? When woman recurs, generally, not always, but generally they will keep recurring, and the treatment goes on and on with periods of time in between where maybe there's no treatment. What's next? What is next? We've talked about all of these subjects, but what is next? Wait, I want to go back here just for a moment. I missed this slide, I'm sorry. Many people are turning to complementary and alternative medicine. This includes such options as chiropractic, reflexology, acupuncture, traditional Chinese medicine, yoga, qigong, Reiki, massage. These are all helpful. Well, I shouldn't say they're all helpful. Many people feel they're helpful in reducing side effects from conventional treatment. So now we'll move on to what's next. What is next? We need to involve survivors in the dialogue and decisions, hence this debate. We need to raise awareness and educate and get involved. We need to demand better access to care and demand more research and expedite the process for research. The dollars have been cut. Every year we have to go to Washington and beg for $10 or $15 million for the DoD program for ovarian cancer research. It's pathetic that we have to do that. And of course we need more survivor-led debates.
Thank you, Carolyn. And that's Taxol on Wednesday. That's amazing. Thank you, Carolyn.
I'm eating my crackers and drinking my water.
This is a sympathetic group, we get that. Next, presenting the con side. Without further ado, Sandy Panalskis from Whitby, Ontario, Canada.
So we searched everybody at the entrance for tomatoes and rocks and things you can throw. Just a personal, compassionate plea. If there's anybody here who's feeling at the least bit sensitive or under a lot of stress right now, feel free to leave and come back, because it's not my intention, in particular for newly diagnosed, to cause any stress, because I am taking the con side of the debate. You understand that? And then after that, we're going to lock the doors. And you're stuck with us. Carolyn, great presentation, but basically bah humbug. Con side of the debate is ovarian cancer cure. If we can't have a cure in the next little while, then at least things such as stable disease or long-term remission would be obviously very acceptable for most of us. But we need to know, can we do it as survivors? Can we do a critical review? Debates, this debate and the one in Toronto has undergone quite an amount of discussion, I guess is the polite word to say. Controversy, yeah, in capital letters. But that's okay, because it's my assessment that because of the controversy, we must be striking an edge, or we must be striking a point. So we will continue on, and we encourage everybody to become involved, because discussion is the only way which leads our future. From the pro and the con side of any discussion, we always learn, because from the con side of the discussion, we learn what we haven't thought to question, right? But most often citizens are not included, and as Carolyn alluded to, we have long ways to go for us. Mostly with when we're newly diagnosed, we have many issues to contend with. I mean, these are just a few of them, and I think you can all relate. So you're newly diagnosed with ovarian cancer, you have your appointments with your physicians, and there's always more than one, and then we have a multitude of other issues. So it's very, very, very difficult. So that's why we need to lean on other survivors, and we do that well, I think. Again, stressing the importance of the survivors' debates, and we are going to continue on with them, and we'll be on an international basis, and there's great value to that. But the voices are what's important, and that's being recognized in medical circles. It's just, how do we actually get there? We also have to bear in mind, as always, that we are individuals as people, but we are in a society where patients are taking control, and I'm very happy to say that my own physicians, my oncologist and my family physician, are very proactive and receptive to that. But in general terms, we say, over the past decade, my presentation is going to be what's happened 1997, 1995, 1998, up until where are we right now, and to see if there's been any change or any difference. So 1997, we were calling ovarian cancer rare, uncommon, common. All of those terms were being used. Now we're back to the same old thing. So we haven't quite established in a cancer which unknown to most people, has the highest mortality rate of all female cancers, and I do include breast cancer in that, and that's going to be a controversial statement, but it has the highest mortality rate of all female-related cancers, not numbers, but highest mortality rate. We still do not understand the effectiveness of the CA-125 and when we should be using it, and this is well in excess of a decade. So in 1997, 1999, when I was diagnosed, we still would use the CA-125 for disease progression, but there was lots of controversy over when and where, and we're still discussing that issue today. The problem with awareness in ovarian cancer is we've basically, in my assessment, gone nowhere from 1997 to 2007, and to support that rather significant statement is two polls, one from Canada and one from the U.S. After millions of dollars spent on awareness and millions of dollars that are not even recognized because they're coming from your pocket and my pocket, we still are not further ahead with ovarian cancer awareness. In Canada, U.S., it doesn't matter the population, the polls support that. So we're still talking about the signs and symptoms of ovarian cancer, and is it silent or is not silent, and so again, to be very critical, where have we gone? We've gone, sorry Carolyn, but we've gone nowhere. Early detection, flat out statement. What can I say? What can I tell you? The importance of survivors' contribution is that, and I'm leading into something because this is not a comment from a cancer-related organization, but it was an international symposium, and they talked about actually getting all of the views on the table, whether we like to hear what people have to say or we don't, but then we can, sort out. So in 2007, this year, in September, there was a consensus statement that was reported saying that ovarian cancer has 4 major symptoms, and I understand the rationale for that. The hopes were to put ovarian cancer on the radar screen. So I looked at the symptoms, which were bloating, abdominal pain, feeling full, and change in bowel habits for ovarian cancer, and then I went to colorectal cancer and stomach cancer, and those are exactly the same symptoms, top symptoms. I'm not 100% sure if that's okay with me or not, but we will see. But if it's not okay with you, Carolyn, then what you have to do is make your voice known and get out there and speak about it. Access to care is an issue for everyone. Doesn't matter where you live, doesn't matter your nationality. There are other influences, though, social determinants of health, cultural issues. But really, we live in a global world, and the scientists recognize that. We as patients have to recognize that. You have choices depending on where your financial situation is. Access to care, paper written by St. Vincent's Hospital is great. Actually, it attests to rationing of care in the U.S. Woo! We thought that was just a Canadian issue, right? You can pick up the paper. Access to care, again, Commonwealth Fund, which is not a UK organization, it's a US organization. I encourage you to look at that site if you're interested in getting involved in the US change in the healthcare reorganization. Canada has already gone through that period. The issues, access to care, what's old, what's new, no change here. Ethics are very important when it comes to genetics. There's a lot of considerations, emotional considerations being one of the largest ones as it applies to us. We have 2 major genetic syndromes, which is the BRCAs, which is the breast and ovarian, and we have the other one, which is no change really in genetics, other than we really have improved and moved forward in genetics. It's absolutely fascinating what is happening. We're beyond just BRCA1 and BRCA2. We're now into SNPs and polymorphisms and small changes that make an impact, and it's all very technical, but we're moving at a very fast pace, which is through the genome, and ultimately it will make an impact, but read the research. So the impact factors, on one hand, we can explain that to you when you've had genetic testing or are thinking about genetic testing. Fear, denial, family issues, surgical intervention, monitoring. So really, the issues are very, very simple. It really comes down to very basic human elements of caring, sharing, and so take-home message. For a couple of years, I was involved in the World Health Organization's Patient for Patient Safety and attended many conferences in the U.S. and Canada. And through this, I have to say, I met one woman who is strikes me as just very, very valuable. I wish she was an ovarian cancer survivor, but she has her own issues. But her comment recently on patient safety, and a very valuable take-home message for me, was exercising one's moral courage is scary and unnerving and can be a very lonely experience. It can test the very fiber of one's beliefs and understanding of moral and ethical issues, but there can be no compromise. If it must be done, it must be done. And that applies to our community. We need to get out there and not have people like Carolyn, who's on multiple recurrence and Taxol, to be speaking for all of you. Take the time to educate yourself and speak out on behalf of others, because those of us that are well, it's kind of like a Lance Armstrong statement. You know, we have...
We are going to hear from a representative of the
people who are sitting to my left. I have great admiration for them, and beyond that, I'm probably speechless, and I don't want to get emotional, so I'll just sort of leave it at that. As Anne-Marie said, I'm one of two healthcare professionals, cancer nurses, who are here, Bridget and myself, and we're really happy when Sandy and Carolyn invited us to participate in the debates in kind of a background way. We also wanted to share some of the reasons why we were so pleased to be asked. We also wanted to bring a bit of a healthcare perspective that we think might be a little different than what they were debating about today. We have a small bias in favor of our physicians, our researchers, and our healthcare systems in general. Although we could see that ovarian cancer statistics were less than rosy, we both feel that supportive care for patients over the past decade has improved substantially. We have new agents now. Both Bridget and I have worked in oncology for, I don't know how many years Bridget has.
25.
And I'm 28, so yeah, quite a while. And we've seen wonderful changes in anti-nausea medications, better and more effective antibiotics to deal with things like neutropenia and other infections. We've also changed the way we approach dealing with treatment side effects. We used to treat reactively and wait for people to have a symptom to occur. Now we treat proactively and in a preventative way. And I do think in the past 10 years that has made a huge difference. I like to think that we have a myriad of other supportive therapies as well. And on top of the treatment advances, we also think there's more involvement in patients. I think because of things like internet, the communication groups like the Ovarian Cancer chat room that everybody in this room seems to be affiliated with, that both the speakers alluded to, really help educate women, and therefore I see a lot more participation on the part of patients and their caregivers in treatment decision making, and that's something else that I think we should celebrate, and that's really only happening. I also thought you might wonder why Bridget and I were asked, and we have a mission and another reason for being here, and that is that we'd like to document the events of today and the events of next Saturday, and we hope to write a couple of manuscripts and have them published in current medical journals. So we're going to work in collaboration, cooperation. Sandy and I have this term about when we write or present, we each share each other's work, and we say we can slash and burn and change it as much as we want, because we know that just by slashing and burning you're going to improve. So anyway, to conclude, 10 years ago a debate such as this would never ever have happened. It's another testimony as to how far women with ovarian cancer have come in the last decade. It's also a testimony to the integrity, the diligence, the boundless energy, and total commitment of these ovarian cancer women and their caregivers who had a dream that they've been working on for a long time, and today have made that dream come true. I actually think today is a historic day for the United States, and next Saturday will be a historic day for Canada, because in my many years now, I've never seen patients accomplish as much as these women. So please join me in acknowledging their great...
All right, we'll take a 10-minute break, and then we'll come back and we'll have a Q&A, so get your questions ready. And Dr. Yi Pan, who is a medical doctor, a neurologist, as well as a 5-year survivor of the beast, will be moderating that. And then we'll have some rebuttals going on and some other fun things. And the important thing about the microphone is that Dr. Benevenia is taping this, so it's like a direct feed. Am I right, Ben?
Well, before our debater come back, I just want to welcome you again, and it is great all the survivor and caregiver come here to participate in this event. Caroline and Sandy had excellent presentation, but we all hold our question here. You notice in the past, you go to the conference, the speaker may talk for the 20 minutes or 30 minutes or 1 hour, but only give you 5 minutes question and answer. But this time, we want to hear your voice. So they have a 40 minutes debate between two of them, but we gave 50 minutes question and answer. So actually, this is your time, and if you have any comment or question, you can directly address either Caroline or Sandy, and I'm pretty sure they will give you a thorough answer. And since Caroline not there, and we can think about if somebody do not want to speak out, you can write in the note, and we will collect. Can get to know you.
Okay. My name is Mary Ross, and I'm from this area, Farmington Hills. I have a few questions. I'm new to this still. It's not been 2 years yet since I was diagnosed. What is IP chemo?
Okay, Caroline, since you started, please
I'll sit down.
Describe what is the abbreviation of IP.
IP is intraperitoneal. They put a port in your abdomen and put the chemo right in there. They used to, I don't know if they still do, they used to put you on this board and flip you around and all this so that the fluids go around and touch all your organs in there. IP versus...
Here's the other consideration that is still in debate. I still have my con hat on here. Close your ears if you don't want to hear this. The debate continues on whether, which follows what Carolyn's saying, to treat early or to treat late, and does it impact on survival. You also must consider that, as we all know, it's not a surprise, I'm not telling you something that you don't know. Once you have a first reoccurrence, it means, in medical terms, that you're not cured. It doesn't mean you can't live. It means that you're not cured. So, in a situation such as yours, what you have to appreciate, understand, and make decisions about are your future, not today, your future quality of life. And will treating it early make a difference for you? Now, you know what? It's a very debatable subject, because a lot of people, a lot of patients will say, hey, if my CA-125 goes up and there's something on a PET scan, even if it's small, I'm on it, because, I can't stand emotionally to think that I have cancer going on in my body and letting it grow. And I think, in fact, that is one important issue that has not been emphasized.
And that when I have a friend who comes to me and says, I'm having all these stomach problems or this or that, I say go. And you insist on it. But I also don't say to all my friends, you need to have every year you need to have a CA 125, because I know that that's not the way that, I know that's not right. But how do you feel about, to anyone who has any kind of symptoms, should we be saying go for that CA 125, or should I not be saying that?
Okay, this is one of the issue related to the genetic. Since we had a limited time previously, we didn't discuss thoroughly. Now this is time we actually can let Caroline and Sandy tell us pros and cons on those advice. What we're going to advise to our sisters or daughters if they have any symptoms. Sandy then.
I think that there's a multitude of questions within that.
It's hard to be here because I'm one of the lucky ones. I was stage 1 ovarian cancer.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Nancy, and my mother had ovarian cancer. She had symptoms for months, I would say possibly years, before she was diagnosed. Too late. My question is about genetic testing. How would you make that decision to have it done, and what would you do with that information as well?
Okay. Let me summarize. Actually, there are two questions. The first question is relationship between the hormone and the cancer. So the first question and the second question, they are related. The second question is how to deal with the insurance for genetic testing. So this will be the last two questions. Caroline, please give some advice about how to get the insurance cover for the genetic testing, and Sandy will address to the relationship between the hormone and cancer, including treating menopause with hormone or fertility drug. Yes?
I have a question.
Okay. This is the last one.
Okay. First of all, I have a comment. Sandy presented a statistic about how much money has been thrown at the research and said that you've only gotten a 4% return on your money. However, I would say that as human beings, as emotional as we are, we tend to spend a lot of money on saving just a few, or the research that goes into it. And so I would just say that that's just the nature of the beast. I mean, there's going to be more money, I'm sure, someday, hopefully. Second question I have is for Carolyn and Sandy. How do you base statistics? Can you explain this? What is your definition of survival? Because there was, I think, conflicting statistical slides presented by Carolyn and Sandy that said that, whether treated by a generalist or a specialist, it looked like in the Carolyn slides that there was some increased survivability, or maybe not. I mean, everybody dies eventually. I mean, so everybody with cancer and without cancer is going to die. But what is your definition of survival? And would it be safe to state that although maybe being treated by a specialist doesn't help you survive the disease better than a generalist, maybe it gives you more time?
Debate on that issue. So my personal philosophy, and I hope everybody's philosophy, is if you're breathing and you're walking, then you're surviving.
Well, this is closing for the question and answer, and we move on for the next section.
Some of those areas. I think that's all the time I'll take right now for negatives, and let Sandy come in here, and then you might have some more questions based on some of this, the negatives and positives. Now, it's very difficult, but Sandy's going to be pro.
I'm going to be what?
Pro.
Pro.
Yes.
It's not that difficult. You're so negative, Carolyn. Better way. Understand, too, that when I was in a shopping mall the other day, I walked out, and there was a mother and her child. And the child's, maybe the child was maybe 4 or 5 years old, and the child said to the mom, "Mom, what are feelings?" And the mom was so smart and right on it, and she said, "Well, Cindy, feelings are something that you feel. You can't see feelings. So it's not 100% accurate because we can see tears, right? And those are a result of feelings. But didn't that say a lot to say we're spending a lot of time on trying to analyze things that morals and intellect and integrity are, in my life, the things that I value the most. And we teach our children the values of right and wrong. Right and wrong are not complicated. They are not complicated at all. We have, as adults, made them complicated. So we say to our children, that's wrong. They don't say, well, how come based on this scenario would it be right? It's right or wrong. So maybe we need to uncomplicate our lives and include. Since 1999, after diagnosis, I cannot tell you personally how much I have been touched by the human factors, the integrity, the value, the love, the sharing, the caring of women and their families and their friends. And so to illustrate what's really important over and above all these stats and everything else,
I don't know how to use the machine. Okay. Sandy commissioned and did an online poll recently, and some of you may have taken part of it, and there were over 300 responses, which is 303, which really is pretty amazing. And all of that, it talked about the women's knowledge of symptoms of ovarian cancer and the relationships with their physicians, and the consensus statement that the help me out. The American Cancer Society, the Society of Gynecologic Oncologists, and the Gynecologic Cancer Foundation. Thank you, Carolyn. And
There you go. You're there. Okay.
is that
That's it. Yeah,
Viva?
enter again.
Here we go.
Okay.
Oh, this is the fun part. Yes, I love this. Okay. Carolyn Benavenia. She's the hostess of this debate. And if I get we sort of commissioned a special presentation for you, and they, through the generosity of their hearts, created an amazing piece of artwork that we're going to give to Carolyn.
You can tell me.
And it is
Secret.
now that's kind of a little bit of a stretched out version, but it is titled Woman Leaps Forward. And I don't even know how they did this, because I would not ever come up with this kind of concept, and neither would Sandy. I mean, there's just no way. And it's just a beautiful notion of spirit and life and enthusiasm and love and generosity. And one of the final things we'd like to talk about is there's a third debate. Well, the second debate will be next week in Toronto at the Metropolitan Hotel, Saturday, November 3rd, same time, same format, and we'll all be there with some of our Canadian friends. And the big announcement here today is that there's a third event that is being announced right now. And let's see, whoever can guess what that stands for here. Viva Las Vegas. That's right. The Ovarian Cancer Alliance of Nevada has volunteered to do this next April 19th. You can go to their website, ocan.org. Our goal is to save women's lives. Don't gamble with your health. Learn the symptoms of ovarian cancer. And a very special component to this is the president of this organization is Liz Williams, who lost her incredibly beautiful, wonderful daughter, Crispin Morrison, in I think it's been 2003 now. So she left us 4 years ago, and Crispin started this organization, and she was just a dynamo, really a wonderful, beautiful woman. And Liz has taken this on, and I know that this means an awful lot to her to be able to have this program in Las Vegas in honor of